Hey everybody, this is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com. We're back with this week's new comic book reviews. It's actually a pretty light week, kids. Yeah, it's pretty light this week. But a couple things before we get started. I remember to change the books, so okay, there's that, and then I'll swing this way in case there was any I missed. So these are some of many trades and graphic novels that I have. I prefer hardcovers, as you can see. Most of these are hardcovers. There's some really good stuff. Obviously, in the case of here, Monsters won many Eisner Awards. One of the biggest surprises of literally DC reprinting stuff was the Kyle Baker Plastic Man, which is absolutely amazing. And then I'm a big fan of Evan Dorkin and his Dork book. Also, I want to point out here the Justice League. This is one of the DC young adult books. Actually, one of the kids' books. Dear Justice League is one of my favorites. Lots of good stuff. And of course, Nightwing, you all know, that is one of my current favorites. Also, there was a comment on last week's show asking if I could break them reviews down by publishers and stuff like that. I had thought about that, but the thing I'm not a particularly big fan of that is that let's say you're a big DC reader, you're a big Marvel reader or Image or whatever. That, to me, that just means that you're going to look at those reviews and not the others. The whole reason that I break everything up and try to mix things up is that I really want to point out things that you might miss or might not have noticed. So as much as I appreciate the feedback on that, I'm gonna keep doing it this way because, like I said, I really try to mix it up and try to point out things that you might have missed that aren't necessarily, say, from Marvel, DC, or Image, or Dark Horse, or whatever. And that way, it's not just. Even when I wrote reviews out before I did the videos, I did the same thing. I tried to mix them up. But I do appreciate the feedback, and but I just think I prefer this method better, only because I think you might have a chance to find stuff that you may have not, you might have missed, or something you might not notice. Okay, with that being said, let's get to the books. First up, we have DC Pride 2023. This has a lot of stuff, so take a second. There's a great introduction by Phil Jimenez. Then the first story, Love's Lightning Heart, written by Grant Morrison with artwork by Hayden Sherman. And Baby Makes Three, written by Leah Williams and with artwork by Paulina Ganshu. Hey Stranger, written by Nadia Shamaris, with artwork by Burka Jones. Subspace Transmissions, written and drawn by A.L. Kaplan. Anniversary, written by Josh Torillo, with artwork by Dan Agrillo. Lost and Found, written by Jeremy Holt, with artwork by Andrew Drillin. Teamworks Makes the Dream Works, written and drawn by Mildred Lewis. The Dance, written by Rex Ogle, with artwork by Stefan Sadowski. My Best Bet, written by Christopher Cantwell, with artwork by Skylar Partridge. Then there's a tribute to Rachel Pollock. And then finally, there's a preview for a young adult book coming out next year, Bad Dreams preview, written by Nicole Maines, with artwork by Rye Hickman. So there's a lot to digest here. Once again, I'm a big fan of DC's Pride books. They're really, really good books, and they help celebrate Pride Month. But it really shows the diversity of the characters in the DC universe, and that's what I really, really love about this book. So the Love's Multiverse story is really about heroes from Earth 36 from Grant Morrison's Multiversity, where the Flash is basically time is running backwards, and the Green Lantern of that has to, basically kind of go and save him, from the time disruption. I really like this story a lot. I'm a really big fan of Grant Morrison. I really like his multiverse stories. So that was really nice. And Sherman's artwork is really, really great here. I'm a big fan of his artwork, and I really enjoyed it. Baby Makes Three was really a fun story. So it's Harley and Ivy. They're on Dinosaur Island, on a little vacation, and Crush, Lobo's daughter, crashes on the island, and so they basically kind of take care of her because she's upset because she was supposed to meet with her girlfriend, and she's stuck on the island. She has no cell phone. There's no cell phone service on Dinosaur Island, so it's really, really a really fun story. Leah Williams wrote that one. I really enjoyed it. I really love Ganshu's artwork. It really, really brings a lot of fun and charm, and I like that her style's a little, kind of has a cartoony style, so it really fits it. Hey Stranger is basically Tim Drake and Connor Hawke. Tim Drake, foils a boat robbery, and he tries to get a hold of Damien, but Damien actually sends Connor, and Connor. The nice thing about this story is Connor talks about him coming out and how it was, difficult to, he didn't want to tell Ollie and all that kind of stuff. It was really a solid story. And, Jones's art is nice on that. The Subspace Transmission, Jess Chambers, Flash. And then there's, Circuit Breaker, which is a new character that came out of Lazarus, and it's kind of just really kind of reintroducing that character kind of into the DC universe. It was a good story. Like I said, it was really kind of showing kind of what Circuit Breaker can do and stuff like that. So it's a nice story. The artwork's really, really nice. I really enjoyed that. The Anniversary was probably one of my favorites. That had to do with Midnight and Apollo, and it really is very timely about a lot of anti LGBTQ legislation and the attacks on drag queen. And of course, Midnighter, they end up at a protest, and he's like, some guy spits in his face, and Midnight is going to take him out. But Apollo points out that, hey, there's kids here, we don't want to cause a riot. And so their kind of way of, protesting is that they get married at the protest and, renew their vows. And it was really, the artwork is really, really nice on that one. I really enjoyed that story a lot. The Lost and Found it has Xanth, the new character from Spirit World, and Batwoman, and it's about the Kane grave kind of mausoleum is trying to get into, and Batwoman, kind of comes and stops the grave robbers. And it really is nice to see Xanth in this story, because it kind of gives, people who might have not seen Spirit World, which, by the way, was really, really good. I really enjoyed that book few weeks back. But I really like that. The art was really nice. The teamwork was kind of interesting. That one's with Natasha Irons and Nubia, where Natasha creates basically this fighting simulation, and Nubia's like, oh well, it's not as good as the training we do on Themyscira. And basically she turns the thing all the way up, and Nubia kind of gets her butt kicked, and she realizes that teamwork is really the most important thing. So that one's really a neat story. The dance is probably the simplest story. It's the way to sum it up is it's it's Ghostmaker and Catman are just horny for each other, and they're battling, and then they just go home together. It's a really simple story. I really enjoyed it. I think there was a lot of like undertone and like sexual tension. It was just a fun little story, and I just like it was just that simple. It was really 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 fun. My best bet is John Constantine and John Kent. Basically, John Constantine has a bet with Felix Faust, and if Felix wins, then it would be bad. So basically, John Constantine enlists John Kent to fight this mystical, like this mystical monster, which of course he's invulnerable, not vulnerable, he is vulnerable to magic, and I won't spoil it, but there's really a neat twist to it of why he asked John to do this. And it's really a neat story. I like, once again, the story was a lot of fun. I like the art. The tribute to Rachel Pollock, and kind of I want to go back to the Phil Jimenez. Phil Jimenez has been out for a long time. He's been publicly gay. And he's done the vast majority of his work at DC Comics. And it was really a really nice intro, especially with all the stuff that's going on with the anti-LGBTQ legislation. It really set the tone for this year's book, and really, set that up well. And then on, at the end, you have the tribute to Rachel Pollock. Now, originally, Rachel Pollock was transgender, and she really she wrote a number of comics, but her big thing was she wrote Doom Patrol after Grant Morrison. And she was DC had contacted her to do a story for this year's Pride book, but unfortunately she passed away late last year or early this year. I'm sorry. And so it didn't come to be, but what was really nice was there was tributes from her friends, including Neil Gaiman, who was a very good friend of hers. And it was really wonderful for the tribute. It would have been great to have her do a story, but this was just a very fitting and emotional way to pay tribute to her and her trailblazing. She also was, she wrote in Doom Patrol one of the first transgender characters in comics, or I should say in mainstream comics, to really separate it. And it's really good. And then finally, there's a Bad Dream preview of a young adult book that's coming out next year. Once again, it's only a few pages. It looks interesting, but we'll kind of see when it comes out next year. I am a big fan of DC's young adult books, and I'm also very glad that they actually have a lot of LGBTQ friendly young adult books, which is really nice. Once again, not every story is going to maybe hit everybody the right way, but I think the stories are really they're all solid. The artwork is really good. There wasn't any that I just, there were some that weren't necessarily my favorites, but they were good stories. Like I said, I'm a big fan. I really highly recommend these to everyone, because I think it really gives you a good cross section of people in life, and it just shows different stories that maybe you might not know about. And once again, I think these are really important books, and I always applaud DC for doing them. So definitely, I really recommend this book. It's one of the best books of the week. Next up, we have Local Man number 4, written by Tim Seeley and Tony Fleece. Tony Fleece does the artwork for the Farmington story, and then Seeley does the artwork for the third generation kind of backup story. So this issue, Crossjack, discovers that a quarry that Hodog had he basically built a supervillain lair, and so he discovers it, and then so Camo Crusader who has, he's one of the, like members of the team that they kick Crossjack out, is really pissed at him, and we don't quite know why. And so obviously read the main story first, and there's that. And then there's the backup story, with Camo, Neon, and Crossjack, who are trapped. They go on a space thing, and then the spaceship crashes on a planet. And so I won't give anything away, but we learn why Camo is super pissed at Crossjack, and that's all I'll really say because I don't want to give it away. But Fleece and Seeley are really knocking it out of the park on this book. It's kind of like the reality take on superheroes in some respects. But I think really the interesting thing is how they're, kind of the human look and feel of kind of being a superhero. And that's what's really fascinating. It's just the way they're handling, Crossjack, being a superhero but not being a superhero is really, really fascinating. I love the artwork. I think that it really works, well, that they each, obviously Seeley's doing more of the like 90s, kind of image look, where Tony's doing pretty much the straight man artwork, but both are really, really good. I'm really big fan of Tony's artwork, and the Farmington stuff is really, really wonderful. So definitely continue to check that book out. Next up, we have the Powergirl Special #1, written by Lee Williams, with artwork by Margaret Savage. And then there's a backup Fire and Ice story written by Joanna Starr, with artwork by Nachia Bustos. So what this is Power Girl's gotten some new psychic abilities from the Lazarus thing. So her friend Omen is kind of helping her, deal with those. But then Johnny Sorrow basically comes to town, or comes to Earth, and basically mentally kind of starts taking over people's minds and stuff. It's kind of like the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, where there's four different creature, gods that are taking control of humanity. And Power Girl and Omen are able to break this kind of the spell on them, and so she tries to go get the other Superman family, but they've all been brainwashed and everything, so it's really up to her to defeat Johnny Sorrow, and that's the basic story there. It's a fun story. It's kind of nice that hopefully maybe Power Girl will become a little more prominent. Savage's artwork's really nice. It's a really good looking book. It's a lot of fun, and it's kind of a small week, so definitely check it out. The Fire and Ice story was pretty basic. It was kind of okay. I wasn't super thrilled. I thought the artwork was a little on the weak side, but it wasn't terrible. It was just kind of an okay story. I think the main story, thankfully, it was really good. And the Fire Ice story was nice. It was just kind of okay, and so was the artwork. So, I think it's worth reading. Just I wasn't particularly overwhelmed with it. Next up, we have Worldtree #3, written by James Tinian IV, with artwork by Fernando Blanco. So what this is so there's kind of multiple stories kind of going on after the so Gibson, who is Ellison's younger brother, went on this like rampage and was killing the neighbors. And in the first issue, he goes to the police, they capture him and everything. But there's this mysterious naked woman who basically, she's unleashed the undernet, and it kind of takes control, and that's why he's kind of gone crazy. So in this issue, we have a reporter that breaks into Gibson's house to kind of find out what was going on before the police get there. And then we also have Ellison, who's not in custody, but they're trying to figure out, what happened to his younger brother. And that Gabriel, who is one of the members of the team that discovered the internet, he's super rich, so he knows that this is that the internet has kind of being unleashed. So he's basically gotten the group of his original team back in college, back together to try to, sort this all out and everything. It's really interesting. It's kind of a very disturbing book, but like in a kind of good way. I don't know that those two things go together. It's really intriguing. I like what Tynan is doing here with the story. Blanco's artwork's really nice. And the one thing that really is interesting is when they're at the house, Gibson's house, it's really dark and the coloring is like really quite good. I'm really enjoying this book. Like I said, it's disturbing, but intriguing at the same time. So definitely still worth checking out. Next up, we have Alien #2, written by Declan Shelvey. With artwork by Andrea Baccardo. So in the first one, there was this this family, the mother, Beta. She was her husband and her daughter. They were on this planet trying to discover new ways of kind of like not so much discovering water, but they're on this frozen planet to try to discover more compact water, for long distance travel. And so, of course, they come across aliens, and before anything really can happen, the Whaling Corporation says, hey, we just bought your company, you're screwed, give us all your stuff. And, of course, the company comes in and drills into the nest, the aliens escape, and all hell breaks loose. It's an alien story. You're not going to gain a lot of, it is what it is. It's not going to convince you that this is the greatest alien story ever made. But Shelvey is doing the right thing. It's just a good, solid alien story. I wouldn't say that I was particularly surprised by anything in the story. It's like they discover, the bad guys come in, let them loose. But it is fun. The artwork's really, really nice. Baccardo's artwork is really, really a big win on this book. It really is nice looking. Once again, if you're looking for an alien story, this one's well worth checking out. Next up, we have the Rocketeer one-shot. Now, it has 3 different stories. The first one is by the original screenwriters of the film, Danny Bilson and Paul DeMeo, with artwork by Adam Hughes. The next story is written by Kevin Mayo with art by Craig Kermack. And then the final story is written by Robert Wyndham with artwork by Jay Lee. So what it is the first story is written by the screenwriters, and surprisingly, Adam Hughes has never drawn the Rocketeer, so this is really his first time. And it's a story about how Cliff met Amelia Earhart when he was younger, and as the Rocketeer, he went to try to find her, and it's really a nice story. It definitely feels like Dave Stevens' Rocketeer for sure. And of course, Adam Hughes' artwork is absolutely gorgeous. It's really a nice story. And it has a really nice emotional tone to it. The Mayo Kermack story is so Betty goes to this lecture at a museum, and then these guys break while the lecture's going on. Hey, everybody's going to be busy, so they try to steal something. And of course, Cliff shows up, and of course, he's the Rocketeer. And also, I got to say is there's a nod and a wink to a certain character that may or may not be Indiana Jones. It's really a fun little story. The story's good. Kermack artwork is really, really nice. Then the final one's a really short story. It's basically the Rocketeer, and he's basically fighting a Japanese Zero, and it's really a short story. It really, it's only like 5 pages, but it does a nice job, and Jay Lee's artwork is really, really nice. This is a really big win. It's kind of a beautiful tribute to not only Dave Stevens, but the Rocketeer film, concerning the first story is written by the 2 screenwriters. I'm a huge fan of the Rocketeer from day one, and I'm really glad that his sister is continuing to and IDW is continuing to do stories. So, and I know there's a new Rocketeer series. It's going to be coming out in a month or so. So, definitely check this out. This was the big win this week. Next up, we have Deep Cuts #2. written by Kyle Higgins and Joe Clark, with artwork by Helena Mazalig. So it looks like, the first issue was a standalone story. It looks like each issue of this is going to be a standalone story. And so what this one is, it's Gail Gelstern, she's written a Broadway play, and they're rehearsing it, and the guy is saying, look, it's like there's some good things, but the play is not good. The music's good, but it really needs a catchy song. So she goes back home, and it's set in 1928. And so she goes back home because she needs to, the guy tells her, you need to write a jazz song. Well, she knows jazz, but she doesn't kind of understand jazz. So when she's back home, she meets people who, one, helps her understand jazz, and along the way, helps her to write the song that this play kind of needs, kind of that hit pop tune sort of thing, the catchy tune that will get people into the play, get butts into seats, basically. It was really a neat story, and I will say that Malice's artwork is really, really nice. It's a really great looking book. I also like the fact that these are one and done stories. Like, you don't have to have read the first issue. You can totally pick this particular story up and it's self-contained. So that's a big plus for this series. I really, really like that a lot. And once again, the artwork was really good. Higgins and Clark are doing a really nice job, and obviously they're big jazz fans. So definitely check this book out. I'm really digging it a lot. Next up, we have Clobbering Time, number 3, written and drawn by Steve Skroke. So this issue has Ben hooking up with Doctor Strange. He's at dinner with his aunt and uncle, and then Doctor Strange comes into the restaurant with, a monster, and, ends up blowing it up and everything. And so what it is Doctor Strange needs Ben's help to recover this ring that's has mystical powers, and the guy who owns it, that has it, is not a good guy. And so that's the basic story here. Once again, it's all about Skroke's artwork, but the story's a lot of fun. I really love how he's kind of like, he really gets Ben Grimm, and that's really good. But I like the fact that he's really having fun with it, where Doctor Strange is like, it's just fun, and it's not really this heavy drama, and that's what I love about this book, is just damn fun. So I definitely keep checking this book out, folks. I'm really digging it a lot. Next up, we have Traveling to Mars, number 6, written by Mark Russell, with Robert Melly. Now, I continue to review this book because, one, it's the best book you're not buying, and two, it got nominated for Eisner. It got an Eisner nomination this year, very deservedly too. Now, so this issue. So Roy's heading to Mars. Roy's is dying from cancer, so it's a one-way trip. But what the competitors have sent ships to basically, kill him and blow up the ship so the other competitors can get to Mars first and, claim it. And so what this issue is him having to basically fend off the ships, who is basic. And so what it is these companies have hired death row inmates, and it's like it's less than a one-way trip, and it's really fascinating how Roy comes up how to stave them off. But really, one of the best parts of this story is Roy, kind of the flashbacks to Roy's life, which is really what is making this book wonderful. I mean, the story of Traveling to Mars is good, but it's really, we're learning so much about Roy in bits and pieces, and really it adds to that main story so well. This is a wonderful book, and Melly's artwork is just absolutely gorgeous. This is a great looking book. The story is fabulous. You really need to be picking up this book. I cannot recommend this enough. I'm a huge fan of Mark Russell, but this is really good stuff. And finally this week we have Detective Comics number 1072. Or 1072. Okay, so the main story is written by Ram V, with Stefano Raphael does part of the artwork, and then Ivan Riaz pencils, and Danny Mickey inks other parts of the story. And then there's a new short story or shorter story, backup stories that are starting this issue. Things That Must Die, Part 1, written by Dan Waters with artwork by Stefano Raphael. Once again, this is really a continuing story. You cannot jump into this book starting now, but there is a collection of the first part of the story, so definitely check that out. Ram V is knocking out of the park. So this issue is about the Orgons who have come to Gotham, and we don't know why. And over these storylines, we've learned that there's a reason that they've been buying all the property where Arkham Asylum was, because they built this kind of machine. I don't want to give too much away underneath Arkham, because apparently there's kind of a mystical quality about where Arkham was built. And so they've also created these Asmer monsters. So this issue really deals with Batman, Nightwing, and Batwoman. There's this thing going on in Gotham, this gathering, this celebration, and so the Orgums are taking advantage of basically taking over Gotham. And so Batman and the other team is in Oracle. They're all trying to basically stop this. And so this is kind of a setting up to head into the finale of this storyline. And once again, Ram V is knocking out of the park. I like the different, styles with Riaz and Raphael. Raphael's artwork. The artwork on this book is really nice. The backup story is about Prince Azan and his kind of bodyguard Zim, and it really kind of sets up. It's once again, it's the first part of a story, but I liked it. Of course, the artwork by Raphael is really nice. I'm really digging what they're doing with Detective. It's really kind of a noirish type book, and I really like that. It's definitely, I'm a big fan of it, and definitely worth checking out. That's going to do it this week. Like I said, it's kind of a small week. As always, public service announcement. I get all my comics at Pulp Fiction Comics, Long Beach, California. Ryan Skinner runs a great store. Annie, Eduardo, Derek, Wendy. It's a really great store. And as I always point out, definitely make sure you support your local comic shop. I mean, times are definitely tough. The economy's kind of in the dumper, but just make sure that if you do buy your comics at your local comic shop, picking them up on a timely basis every week would be great, because they have to pay for the books when they get them, and they have to wait until you buy them. So definitely support your local comic shop. They're really the backbone of the industry. So definitely and once again, on a light week like this, if you're only buying a few books, hey, buy some trades, go buy some back issues, because that every dollar helps them. Because I know, right now, Ryan, the economy's tough. It's tough on everyone, and Ryan is no example, or he's an example of all retail is struggling. So definitely support your local comic shop. And as always, we end our show with being kind to each other. Look, it's free, doesn't cost anything. Being kind is good for you. It's just be kind to each other out there, and be kind to yourself. That's going to do it this week. Thanks for watching. As always, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please share it with your friends. And as always, once again, comments are welcome. But thanks again for watching, and just take care of yourselves out there. We'll be back again next week with more comic reviews. This is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com signing off. Take care of yourselves, folks. Bye-bye.